You're listening to She's the Business podcast. If you've ever had a dream of writing your own book, but you feel really held back by things such as, how would I even have the time to write a book in the first place? Or if I wrote it, how would I get it published or have people find it and buy it? Or maybe you're just not even sure whether you could even write a book because maybe you don't consider yourself a good writer. Well, today's episode has been created just for you. We're talking all about how you could actually, yes, really possibly write your own book and publish a book that would help empower, inspire others, even educate other people, because the world is a better place with you in it. You're totally unique and we want to hear your story. So without going into it too much, please stay tuned. This episode you're going to absolutely love. It's going to give you some practical, actionable steps and tips that you can start thinking about today or even doing today in order to put yourself on your journey of writing a book. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. Well, today I have a special guest for you who is an expert in writing and publishing books. Sue Kennedy is the founder and CEO of Author Academy, Sue Kennedy Publishing, the Author Academy bookstore, and Healing with Art. With over 3 decades of book coaching, publishing, speaking, and most importantly, real life in the trenches, business experience, her view on writing and publishing a book is radically different to what you've heard before. Sue sometimes is referred to as the people whisperer for her coaching skill that brings out the best in people, and she's known for her practical, street-savvy style. She has a really unique process that she guides people through that helps you to get really unblocked in terms of your writing and be able to bring out the best things that you have to share into your book, no matter whether it's a story of your own life or if it's a business style book. Sue really knows how to help you have that best-selling edition. So without further ado, let me play this interview for you. You're going to hear about something that I've never heard of before, how Sue combines art and an aspect of art into writing a book. Now, I will not be able to explain it as well as she does, so let me play the interview and you can hear about it from her. Okay, and here I have with me today the lovely Sue Kennedy, who is the founder of Author Academy. Welcome, Sue. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you, Jessica, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, I cannot wait to get into all of this chat about authoring books. I think it's something that I'd say most of us have always had a secret desire to be an author at some point, or at least I certainly remember that from being even a young child and thinking that that would be something I'd love to do. But before we do that, please let's dive into a bit about you. What is it that you do in your business? Who do you serve? And even how did you even get into this? Because, becoming an author, I think, is not something that's super, super common. It's probably one of those things that's a bit of a pipe dream for a lot of people. So I'd love to hear about your journey as well.
Awesome. I'd love to share. So I started off, it goes back a few years now, but it started off actually quite interesting because I actually fell into a really dark depression. And from that was pretty much born my business, because I had everything like everyone else, the husband, everything, all that stuff, the dog, the house, whatever. Anyway, the marriage fell apart, lost my dog, then, lost the house, and I just was left with nothing and went, wow, how did that all happen? And I didn't actually realize that I'd fallen into a dark depression. I really didn't, because it wasn't talked about much back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just when I sort of heard something on the telly, I happened to be having some lunch and listened. I think it might have even been Oprah or something like that. You know, one of those shows through the
Yeah.
day. I just had the telly on in the background and went, just pricked my ear, and I went, oh, that sounds like me. And I went, wow, didn't realize I had depression. And, you know, it was that bad that I actually considered suicide.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was bad because, as I said, I lost everything, and I just, well, what just happened? And
Yeah.
how do I even get out of this? And thankfully it was, you know, thanks to my dogs, and mainly my male dog, who I only lost 4 months ago, and he was over 16 years old. But he just sort of like looked at me and like put his paw up and sort of like snapped me out of it pretty much.
Wow.
So I owe my life to him, to my little girl, which I still have. And anyway, so I went, well, I need to research this. So I did. I sort of figured out, well, what it was that I was going through, why, how do I fix it? And from doing that, it was quite a therapeutic process for me. And then went, I should share this with other people. I should write a book about it. So I did, because then I thought, well, I could maybe help others with what I've gone through.
Yeah.
And back then there were no things as book coaches, because that's pretty much what I do. I help people write their story, whether it's a business book or a, just your life story and the trauma that you've been through. I specialize in both of those because it's probably, pretty much what I've been through. So I have the experience to be able to help people through that, as opposed to a fiction book, which is completely different.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, so from all of that, I have since written over 10 books.
Wow.
And so from one of the books, people kept saying to me, how do you keep doing this? And I went, maybe I need to write a book about how to write a book. So I did.
Good one.
From that, I started running workshops, and that's sort of kind of how it was all born. And then I just went, now I realized that a lot of people actually need a hand because they just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And what to do, what the processes are. So I've created a 5-step unique coaching program that I run. And pretty much takes you through all the sort of normal standard stuff of where to start, what to do next, et cetera, includes, everything else as far as like proofreading and designing it, printing it. You also get printed copies.
Yeah.
And I also include an art process in there because I'm also an artist, and thought, well, what do I do? Like, I love the writing part. I love the art part. Which do I do? And I went, well, I don't need to decide. I just combine the two.
I love that. Well, you're such a creative person, writer and artist. Wow, I really respect that. That's amazing, Sue. And just, the fact that you've written 10 books, you've come out of such a deep, dark place, and it just sounds incredible. So I wanted to ask, because, I'm certainly one of those people who, as I mentioned when we first started chatting just earlier, was, I always had a dream of like, I'd love to write a book one day. And I'm sure that a lot of people do. And, now that we're business owners, what are your thoughts around that? Like, people might be thinking, well, okay, I could write a book, but, I'm not really the expert on something. Or what are some of those barriers that you can see people having in terms of that thought of connecting? Well, I'd love to have a book, but they're not even at the point of, well, how do I write it? They're more like, can I even do this, or should I do this, or is that the best option for me? So what sort of thoughts or insights do you have on that?
Okay, so if you're in business, then you're obviously an expert in something, right?
Yes.
You obviously know what you're doing with whatever your business is. You know how to do that thing. So there you go. That in itself, you've got the information there. Now, how you want to then apply that is, whether is it something that you just want to write a book about and celebrate how many years you've been in business? Is it a book where you're going to run a workshop like I did? One of my books I turned into a workshop. Is it, or, it could be a course. It could be turned into a course as well.
Yes.
It can be used as to me, these days, business cards are no longer your book, your business card now. And, it can be utilised at speaking events as well. So, there's so much opportunity by writing your story or about you and your business. People are interested in knowing how you started your business. Like they want to know the person behind the business. Yes, they're interested in the business, but they want to know about you.
And I guess that is a really good, I was about to ask you, well, what if you're sitting there thinking, well, there's so many books on this topic out there already, like, if I go and write another one, is it even going to be worthwhile? Because, writing a book is not a small feat. There's a good bit of energy that goes into it. But I guess you kind of almost answered that question a little way where you just said, well, people want to know the person behind the business. And, I'm then thinking, well, that's not anyone else's story, is it? It's only my own. So,
but you also have, let's coaching is a big thing. Like that's a big business. Lots of people coach. And a lot of people are life coaches, for instance. And that's just as an example. So even book coaches, like I'm a book coach. So we all have our own unique spin on it as well. So we add our own little unique thing that we do differently to someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
That's where we are different. And, like mine, yes, I teach the usual stuff of how to get started. We outline the book and we do all kinds of other things that most coaches do. My unique approach to it is the art component. I use that to help people unblock their story.
Wow. Okay. Tell me a bit more about that. What does that mean? What does that look like?
So a lot of people now, and it can be used for either business owners or people just writing their life story. So it can be used for either. So the two processes, I had the one and then I thought, no, I need to bring something else in. So one is we go to the canvas and we paint on the canvas. Now, it's not painting something absolutely amazingly beautiful. However, if you are able to do that, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But it's not about that. It's about actually, when you're actually on the canvas, it's actually your subconscious and soul having that conversation with you. It's giving you messages.
Right.
So I coach you through all of that, and all of a sudden you do get all these messages and you go, oh, my goodness. Oh, wow, I didn't think of that. Or, oh, wow, okay, I get now why I've been blocked in that area. So it's an amazing technique.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds incredible.
It is. And then I thought, okay, well, a lot of people get a bit anxious about a blank canvas. So I need another tool.
That would be me. It's blank. What do I even put on it? Where do you start? I think it's like, oh my goodness.
It is. It's quite confronting. And so, and I have clients that have anxiety and fear and those kind of things. So I'm like, okay, I need to get another tool that's a bit more gentle. And that's why then I've become a specialist in a specialist coach in Neurographica. And that is pretty much using pen, paper, and just like colour pencils or markers, a lot more gentle. But I believe maybe even more powerful than the canvas, but they are both very powerful.
Yeah.
So that's what I bring that's unique to the table in book coaching.
It just sounds amazing. I while you were talking, I don't know why, how little stories and things pop up in your head. And I remember this would happen to me often as a child, because that's when I did probably most of my artwork. I'd have this amazing,
image in my head, like, yes, I'd really like to paint this or draw it. And in my head, it looked so great. And then I'd get the canvas and I'd start putting paint on and be like, oh, okay, well, that hasn't really worked out how I saw it in my head. It was like translating the thing in my head out through my hands onto the canvas. A lot of what looked so incredible got completely lost in that process. So it would, I think for me, you know, I would be thinking, oh, that's a bit nerve-wracking actually to try to put something on canvas, because my experience of not being able to get the thing out of my head and actually out there would make me feel like I was failing already. So I love the fact that you've kind of got another tool there that, you know, might be a little bit gentler for people like me who totally overthink things and probably don't let it all flow.
Yeah, because it doesn't need to really, I think you're right, because this is why I did it, because a lot of people believe that when they're on the canvas, it needs to look like something. Where when we take it to the paper and just draw neuro lines, it doesn't actually have to look like anything. So this is where it's a lot more gentle.
Yes. Wow, that's so amazing. So we've kind of talked about how even if there are a million books out there on your topic, how you can still have something valuable, worthwhile, unique to bring out to the world. That's great. I think the next thing that I would be thinking, or I do think, is time. Like, when would I have the time? How is it even possible? I love that idea, but, you know, I can't do it yet, or something like that. So what do you say? Because I guess this is a belief that I would be holding right now, that, you know, it's just not possible for me at the moment because I don't have enough time. But what do you say to someone who's thinking that, who actually kind of really wants a book and they're holding back because of this reason?
And this is a big one for a lot of people. So what I suggest to you is, firstly, find out when is the best time for you to engage that part of the brain. So when you're the freshest, I suppose. And, you know, is that in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it 2:00 in the morning? Whatever it is for you, figure that out first, I think. And then you put it in your diary as if you are booking in a client. You block that time out and you're the client in this instance. Now, it only needs to be half an hour, you know, like, it doesn't have to be half a day. I mean, if you want to and you've got the time and space, great, do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think if you just start off with, you know, a little amount and work up to a larger and longer time period, because once you start, you are going to get addicted. And you're going to get so excited that you'll want to, you know, finish it. But start small, baby steps.
How long do people generally take to go through that process, like, once they've kicked off? I know that's going to differ for everybody, but, you know, if you're thinking, well, on average, it probably takes, is it a year? Is it 6 months?
It can take, I mean, my programs, I offer 3 and 6 months. But it can be longer if they need to. But that's just generally what I sort of offer.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some people are like, yep, that's exactly they know what they want to do. I want to get it done quick and easy, you know. So 3 months. And being in business, you know, you sort of know, and once you're focused in on doing something, you want to get it done pretty quick. You don't want to drag it out. But it might be in a 6-month plan, it might be in your 12-month plan. It's whatever it is for you. And I think it's whatever time you allocate for yourself. So if it is like half an hour a day, but if it's more than that, then of course you're going to get it done quicker. But, you know, depending, like at the start, it's going to, you know, the big thing is planning. I mean, the first thing you got to plan out on what the book looks like.
Yeah.
What's the end goal of the book? You know, a lot of those things are dependent on how long it's going to take. Whether you need to do a lot of research, that's going to add time to it as well. You know, you could easily do one in 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah. And so let's touch on that for a moment, because, you know, I think that planning, you know, it's probably the part that if we had never done a book before, we might sort of think, right, I'm just going to open up a Google Doc and put number one and just sort of start writing and sort of see where it leads. But I'm guessing that that's not actually the first step that you do. So talk to us a little bit about what sort of planning do you do? How do you make it so that this book project, actually is something that you do finish and it has structure and you don't get lost in the process? Because I think that might also be a bit of a fear people have of like, we've all heard the stories of authors who have had books that, just sort of drag out and out and out and out and out for ages and they're not finishing them. And we wouldn't want that to happen, because if you go and decide to write a book, you probably want to get it done and get it out there as soon as possible. So, what are the kind of simple things that you do in terms of planning so that, when you do start the project, it actually gets finished?
Again, the first thing is working out what the goal of your book is. Like, is it to get more credibility? Is it to run a workshop? What is the end goal for the book?
Mm-hmm.
And then what I suggest to everyone is to write the last chapter first.
Oh, okay. That's surprising. So tell me about that. Why is that such a good tip?
The reason is exactly what the question you asked me is, how are you going to, how can you actually get the book finished and not let it drag on and on and on? Well, if you've written the last chapter and this is where it's going to end, then you have got an end goal in mind. And then when you're writing, you're working towards that. So,
like that.
So that way you're not
mind.
stuck in the middle of like, oh, well, now what do I write about? What am I going to do next? So this way you know where you're headed.
Yes. Oh, really, that is actually really smart. And it's so funny because it's a concept that we apply to so many other things, all the time in marketing. I'm like, well, what is the goal? Let's start with the end, and we can like backtrack from that to figure out what we're going to do. Because so often, if you start at the beginning, you can go off down so many tangents and have this great big long winding road to get to the end. Where it's actually, if you start at the end, you might realize you only need 2 or 3 steps in order to get there. So I love this when you apply it to a book. Write the last chapter first, and then you actually have that really tangible goal for the book in mind, and your finish line is very clear. So you just straight towards it, not going off down the path. Wow, love it.
So much clarity. Yep.
Yeah, that just sounds so much easier. And I think that there's the other questions, I guess, and I'm just sharing kind of ones that I have myself because, I sit here in these shoes. I have co-authored a book, but I didn't get into any of the stuff around the publishing or how you even get it out there or on shelves or anything like that, because the person who led the book had managed all of that for me. So I had the beautiful experience of just writing a chapter and sending it in, which was great. But when someone's looking to publish their own book, how much do you actually really need to learn about, getting it on Amazon or, launching your book and the marketing? There's a lot more that goes into it than just actually writing a book, isn't there? So
there is.
Yeah. What do you say to someone who's like, well, I've never done it before. I have no idea. Even if writing the book now feels easy, it's the whole, how do I even get it out so people can read it or purchase it?
Get a good book coach.
That's good. That's a good answer.
Because I know when I did it, I just went, wow, it was huge. Like, it's a lot easier to do it on your own now, but it really does still have a lot of different things, like even getting it on Amazon. It's up to the person if they want to put it on Amazon. I don't recommend it because you're just another product. Like, it's you're stuck in there amongst millions of products.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people say to me, oh, I've got my book on Amazon, but I'm not selling it. And I went, have you told anyone it's there? Well, Amazon aren't going to promote you.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So you need to promote it. And that's the case for everywhere. I have an online bookstore where I, allow, like when I coach someone, automatically their book goes onto the bookstore. And some people don't want it, some do, but it's again, I promote them, but they have to promote as well. Like,
Yeah.
That's what marketing is about. The more, the merrier. The more that we can get the word out, and the more people that can help you get the word out, the better it is. So it just, magically happen. But this is why, like I was saying, with speaking engagements with the book, like going to networking and putting your hand up and saying, I'd love to be the speaker. Take your book along and go, here's my book.
Yes, yeah, that's so true. What other ways do you, apart from you've got your own online bookstore, which is great, what other ways do you use to, help people know about it? I guess even after the initial launch, because I think, in my head, well, being a marketer, to me, that seems easy. I'm like, okay, I'm going to create a campaign. I'm going to announce it. There'll be a bit of, fanfare around the actual launch of the book. But then what happens next month when that sort of campaign's over and you've sort of done all of this talking that you've done, or maybe it's not even 1 month later, maybe it's 6 months down the track when you've sort of, it's not new anymore. What do authors do to continue having people being able to find out about the fact that they've got a book and purchase it?
Well, you need to continually promote yourself and the book. So, making sure that you're on the socials. But, like I was saying, go to networking events, but even coffee shops or bookstores. They're always looking for people to, the bookstores and the coffee shops, like, they're happy for you to do it because it brings people into their business.
Right.
It's helping you and them. So it's a win-win. So, and then also like running workshops, if it makes sense for your book to run a workshop or a talk, and even online, just, running a webinar or something that, you can get them to come on, talk a bit about the book, again, depending on what the book's about, even if it's just talking about the book and saying, here's the link where you can purchase a copy,
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's, as as a marketer, like, there's a lot of different ways that you can promote.
Yes. I think that's it. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, yes, well, I guess you just figure out what's going to be your business as usual. Like once a month I want to do something, maybe once a quarter do something else, becoming a guest on someone's podcast like yourself. That's probably a great way of getting out there and sort of sharing a bit about who you are. And I think no matter what the topic is, you can probably always drop in a mention of your book at times like that. So thinking creatively about it, but it's just about being present somewhere, isn't it? Having some sort of presence.
Exactly right. And again, like, depending on the type of business you have and what the book's about, you could create your own podcast around it as well.
Yes. Yeah. So good, isn't it? Now, I had a couple of questions. I guess one of them was just out of interest sake, what do you see happening with people who might start and then get stuck? Like, what are some of the reasons or the things that trip them up that you can help them to get unstuck?
Get unstuck.
Yes.
Perfect. Love it. So, yes, that happens a lot. A lot of people have this.
I can imagine.
Well, I've had people that come to me that, have been writing the book for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, I want to finish it. And then I remember this one lady, I was running classes at the local college, and she came up to me after class and said, do you do one-to-one? I said, I do. She said, perfect. Can I book something in? So anyway, she did. She came over, and in the end, she kept meeting up with me, and we had one-to-one coaching sessions. And then within a few months, we had the book finished and published.
Wow.
Sat there for 30 years.
So what was it that had been stopping her? What were some of what's an example of, I guess, the blocks that they have?
Yeah, I think she got to a point where she just, didn't know where to go next. And she had bits and pieces, which this is what happens to a lot of people. They have bits and pieces all over the place. And then in the end, it just gets a bit like, oh, I'm stuck. I don't know. Am I even doing this right? Is it going to be good?
Yes.
All the normal limiting beliefs that people have. And for her, it was just actually having someone to hold her accountable like me and be able to talk to someone and go, right, let's have a look, let's work it all out. And I sat with her, we worked it out, and I sort of said, I think, this could be done a bit better, or maybe that doesn't need to be there. Like, to start with, her book started off very soft, and I just went, no, it needs to kick a punch. Okay, sadly, it was about her daughter that had passed, but I said, you need to actually start this book about my daughter, passed away at 6.5 years old. I mean, that to me would be like, what? I want to now know what happened. And so we'll continue to read that. And so she went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So she did. She changed it. And, it's a lot better. Instead of leaving it to the end, it starts with that and then, okay, well, now let me talk about the lead up to that, sad day. So it was really, it was powerful.
Yes, yeah. And something so simple like that, I think that is the benefit of kind of being able to step up out of the detail and just sort of really see what the punchy bits are. Do you ever have somebody, so just completely changing tangent here, but I have so much content. So one of the things I sit there and think is like, well, I've got content probably to write 5 books. I don't know. Like, I feel like I've got so much that I wouldn't even know where to start in mining it to pull it together. What do you do with a basket case like myself, where I'm like, I've got so much content, I don't even know where to start to pull it together, but I'm sure I've got enough to write a book, or at least have the start of a book and kind of tie things up.
So I'll go back in a minute when I answer this question to finish off the previous one with. I've got some gifts that will help people with unblocking.
Okay, cool.
But with that one, I would sit you down and say, right, of course, first question, what is the goal for your book? What is the end goal? Then when we do the outlining of the book, again, it's not set in, stone. We can move it around and change it. But then once we work that outline out, that's when we can go, okay, well, what's the pieces of content you have now? Do they fit into any of these? If they don't, they can go into the next book.
Yeah, okay. That sounds easy. I like it.
So that's, pretty much. I mean, and we can do other things too. Now, just going back briefly.
Yes, sorry, go back. Yeah, other blocks and things that people have.
So I do have a page where people can go to, or link. It's authoracademy.com.au/gifts. So GIFTS. Now, on that page, we have there's a 30-day writing challenge, which is really, really fun. So great way to unblock. So what happens is, and all these are free. All you need to do is just give you a name and email. What you get for that is you get every day for 30 days, you get an image sent to you. You look at the image for 5 minutes and then you write about it for 15.
Okay.
Great way to unblock. Another one I've got, there's a free gift there about limiting beliefs. And I've also got a video series, which I created a few years back, about 5 sort of steps, of how to get sort of started with writing the book. And I think there's a link to the podcast on there, because I have a podcast with a friend of mine.
Amazing.
And there's also in there a section at the bottom where, if you want to, offering a free 30-minute heartstorming session with anyone that wants to have a chat at where they are on their writing journey, and whether I can, hopefully I can help them and guide them and go, right, this is your next step.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for sharing all of that. So we'll make sure I pop that link to your page with all the gifts on it down in the show notes, so you can go through and I guess help yourself to any of those really useful resources. There things that you think are the most common, maybe, I know you said they're limiting beliefs. Like, what would you say the most common, like 2 to 3 are that people really are stuck on?
I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. Yeah, that would be very common.
Who would want to read my story? And what's another one that, I mean, you know, it's just like, yeah, I can't write. I'm not someone that can write. Well, if you can speak, you can write.
Yes, well, that is really interesting because those kind of, you know, I'm not someone that can write, I think could be, you know, when you said that, I thought, wow, yeah, that's so powerful. And someone who thinks that would probably not even be thinking that they could write a book. What do you know, you just said that if you can speak, then you can write. What if they're thinking, yeah, but I have dyslexia, or I don't know what else they might think is sort of like a fact or factual proof that they can't write, but then you've actually found that's not the case and that you can still write because of it. Do you have any little nuggets or examples of situations?
I think the best thing for someone like with dyslexia is to record it. Like instead of typing it, if that or writing it, if that proves to be a bit difficult for you, then just record it and get it transcribed.
That is so true. There's so many good transcription apps these days. Like, it does amaze me how often, you know, even if you record something on, or Zoom can do it, like Facebook, all of them, YouTube even, like you could have a private account and put up a video, and they're so accurate, aren't they, with the transcriptions, which is amazing. I do find, though, I'm not sure how many different ones you've tried, the Google Docs, that's got a microphone one, and I've done that a few times, and it can be quite different. I go back and think, I have no idea what this is even about. Like, it clearly has not understood my accent at all. It's writing complete garbage on the page.
You have to train some of them, and I think it's a bit of a training for you and because I think Microsoft Word does it too.
Yeah.
Darkwave. So I think you've just got to practice that one a little bit, but you know, once you get to the point where you know what speed you need to talk at, you know, and sometimes you'll just have to slow down a bit. But I think eventually it gets to know your voice, and it spits out something that's legible.
Yes, and then you just have to edit it. Do you have any favorite transcribing apps that you use, like one that you use to record and then that gives you a good transcription?
I don't, probably Microsoft Word, but I actually I do more like video stuff than as far as like transcribing for writing. But I use Descript, which you can just upload the video, press transcribe, and bang, all the text is there for you. And then you press another magic button that takes all the ums and ahs out.
I love that. Yeah, I know. I tell so many people about Descript. I'm like, it's perfect. You can even cut out a sentence, or if you said something or mumbled your way through it and then thought, well, restart that again. It's just so easy to use. So yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? I mean, you can, because I think Descript, you can load up audio or video. So you just sort of record on whatever is easy for you, like on your phone, maybe like record on it and then upload it to Descript, and it will produce your notes for you. So
exactly. And I think you don't even, though I think the paid account takes out the ums and ahs. I think the free one doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might have paid for it because I was using it, more than what the free version is. But I don't think it costs much. It might be like $100 a year or something. Like, it's really minimal. And if you're going to use it to write a book, what's $100? Like, it's really not much. So yeah, Descript is amazing.
Another tool, and I'm not sure because I haven't been in it for a while, but Scrivener is a really good tool. And I don't know if their pricing is still the same, but it was always around $50, and it was for you get a free month's trial, but that is like if you use it, say today, and then this is day one, and then you might not get to it for another couple of days, then that's day two.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's really good, and it's a great little software where you can organise all your chapters. You can get all your information in there as far as like your videos or any research items.
Oh, wow.
So it's all in like one little place instead of, I have to go over there and now where did I put that again? So you can just put it all in the one.
Yeah, that sounds like a lifesaver for someone like me. What was it called again? Scrivener, did you say?
Yeah, Scrivener. Scrivener.
Scrivener.
And I believe that they have a little microphone you can record in there as well.
Record in there as well, yeah. I mean, there's so many options now, isn't there? I was thinking the other day, I even just turned on my laptop camera, and like recorded some video there instead of recording through Zoom, because I'm like, well, then I don't have the little Zoom icon on it, or, and gosh, there's just that many options. It really doesn't matter, does it? Beautiful.
It's just what you're comfortable with and can be happy with.
Fantastic. Well, this has been so useful, Sue. I think anybody who's been listening, who's sort of had that little thought in the back of your mind about, I'd love to write a book, but, I can't, or who am I to write a book, or what would I even write about, or I don't have time. I think we've almost cracked pretty much any of those things that are holding you back, and hopefully you're feeling quite empowered that it would be totally possible to write a book, which is amazing. Now, if you wanted to connect and find out a bit more about Sue, what is the best place? Where do you hang out online? Are you on social media? Is it your website? Where should they find you?
So my website and that link with the gifts, and of course, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those. I'm on all of those.
Oh, well done. You're on all of them. So head to your favorite social media platform and connect with Sue Kennedy there. I will link up the different social medias in the show notes as well. So just to make it easier for you, don't have to go searching. So thank you. Do you have any final little tip or takeaway item that you'd like to leave people with for today, Sue?
I just want to say that, take your business to the next level by writing a book, and that you are amazing and you are good enough to write your story.
I'm here
to help if you need it.
Love it. So powerful. And why not? We don't have to be, I don't know what we think we have to be, but you don't have to be anyone or anything. You can just be you, and you can write a book. So we
want it to be you. We want your story, not anyone else's, your story.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and all of everything you've shared with us today. It's it's been really, really beneficial and interesting and hopefully useful, because we'll see some new books out there on the shelves soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jessica. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Is your lead magnet bringing you subscribers or buyers? Now, this is a great question, isn't it? Because most of the time, people have decided they want a lead magnet because they know that they want to build their email list. We want to build an email list because we're told that that's where the sales come from. Email is still the number one sales tool for a business, and that is where most people make their sales from. Even if they have a really great social media presence, they are usually working to get their audience off social media and into the email list, because an email list is something that you own. But what is the value of your email list? Now, if you only have people in your email list who are there for the information and the fun times, but they're not the right buyer for you, then what is the point of having it? What is the value of having 10,000 non-buyers on your email list versus having maybe 1,000 actual potential buyers? Now, I know which one I would rather have. And that's why I've put together a mini course, a short course that's called Creating Your Irresistible Lead Magnet. Now, this course is designed to help you come up with a lead magnet that attracts buyers who are right for your offering, who are right for your programs, as opposed to subscribers who are interested in what you have to say, but are not going to be the right fit to buy from you. And yes, there's a huge difference there, a subtle but very big difference. And it can make all the difference to your business if you get this right. So right now I'm offering a crazy deal on this Irresistible Lead Magnet course, mini course, where it's half price, usually $397. I'm offering it for $197. Just $197. You get to keep it forever. Yes, you can dive in now, do your lead magnet, but you can keep it forever, so you can come back and do it again. And I'm going to throw in, as just an extra special thing just for you, because you're doing this now, a live Q&A where you can dive in, do this mini course, and then join me with your questions. Join me to ask what you need to ask, get some feedback, get some help, get some coaching, whatever it is that you need in this Q&A session. So head along to jessicaosborne.com/ILM for Irresistible Lead Magnet, so ILM, and get yourself into this course today. Learn how to create a lead magnet that brings you real buyers, and let's see your email list start to become your absolute most valuable asset in your business.